All right, all right, all right. What is happening, good people? What is happening? What is happening? Hopefully you guys can hear me A-OK. Sorry for the delay. Had some issues with my audio devices. Wasn't playing music. Wasn't playing my voice out of the speakers. I could hear me, but you guys wouldn't have been able to hear me. I think we're okay now. So you guys can give me a virtual thumbs up. Y'all let me know if the music is too loud, if I'm too loud, or what have you. Round of applause should be working. Y'all let me know if y'all hear that. All right. Well, what's going on, guys? While y'all let me know on the audio stuff, let me just go ahead and get through the intros. Welcome to the latest episode of Terrible Towel Tuesday. I am your host, SimFBallCritic, live from the Steel Basement. What is happening, man? A lot going on, but really not a lot going on. And that will be indicative of tonight's show. Pulled a couple things, a couple little things that I took from Mike Tomlin's most recent press conferences. Mainly, I'm going to talk about more of the couple things that I got from his interview with Matt Stark, and not so much, the interview, at the annual meeting, because, it's not a whole lot of stuff he gave us in that regard. And there you have it. And then, of course, the main topic, man, you see it in the title. The question is, do you think the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers are purposely not signing at the moment? And the only reason why I'm asking that question is I saw that question out there in the world, and I was like, you know what? Let's bring that to the show and see how you guys feel. If they're doing that, what's the advantage of doing that? All of the above. But let's say hello to the early commenters as far as who all is up in here. Brother Man is in the building. Mark Cunningham in the building. Hello, Lanisha. The lovely Lanisha in the building, guys. Y'all know the routine. A special hello always to our lovely ladies of Steeler Nation. Treat them with care and lay out that red carpet for them, guys. Make sure y'all say hello. My man Brent Fox is in the building. Who else is up in here, man? Crazy Ron Gaming. Amon Bozeman. Steeler Cards is in the building. Who else is in here? Did I say? Yeah, I already said Brother Man. My man Wyatt Diggy's in the building. Good brother Kenyon in the building. Kev So Fun is in the building. Tristan Cooper in the building. And who else? Did I miss anybody? I think that is it right now as far as commenters. So let's get to it. You guys said sound check is good. Okay. Good. Glad to hear that. All right, man. So let's see. Where do I want to start? Couple things that I wanted to pull from what Mike Tomlin said. He said, one of the things he said was, he kind of talked about his excitement level, acquiring some of the new offensive pieces. Obviously DK Metcalf, that's an obvious one. How could you not be excited by a guy like DK Metcalf? We all know what he's done in his career. We all know the big play threat that he can be. The funniest thing is, some people, not a lot, but some people would remember DK Metcalf a lot from, what he did. Remember that time? I think it was Buda Baker that caught an interception and DK Metcalf walked them down and saved the touchdown. It's funny how a lot of people, remember that as one of his main highlights and how impressive it was. Absolutely. But I think some people on a day-to-day may not realize, the type of threat that DK Metcalf is downfield, the type of animal that he is on field in terms of personality, his sheer size and strength. And again, he is a matchup nightmare in a one-on-one situation, more so but because of he's just a go ball guy, a go up and get it type of guy, wrestle the ball down type of guy, combat catch type of guy. I don't think you're going to mistake DK Metcalf for an ultimate route runner, but he is definitely a number one receiver. Excuse me, and has been, right? So, of course, we don't have to sit there and, we don't have to, be surprised that he talked about acquiring DK Metcalf. Who wouldn't be excited by that? Guy is still relatively young. I think DK is 28, 27, 28, I think at the most, in his prime, physical specimen. He's going to fit the offensive style of play that Arthur Smith runs. But then he kind of talked about more than just DK, man. He went in to talk about Kenneth Gainwell, right? And I liked what he said, and I wrote here, kind of paraphrasing. He said he was very excited to get a guy that's a space player. He remembered and he honed in on what Gainwell did against us this past season, and kind of just said, excuse me, to get a guy like that, we kind of wanted to go out and get these type of guys that can make things happen in space. Interesting, right? Let me throw another narrative at you really quick. Again, I have no way, shape, or form to know if this is true or false. Excuse me, guys. Let me get a sip of water. Let me apologize to you guys in advance as well. You may see me or hear me cough a couple times, sneeze a couple times in this broadcast. Not sick anymore. I think last week I was telling you guys I was feeling a little, but not sick at all. It's just, allergies are lingering, and I'm kind of coming off with a little allergy bug that a lot of people have gone through. And the funny thing is, man, I don't really have bad allergies at all, but it just seems like it has caught up to everybody. So yeah, you might hear me cough and sneeze here and there, but I'm gonna keep keeping on. Yeah, Kenneth Gainwell, man, I thought that was interesting because what Mike Tomlin said, and let me explain where I'm going with this. Like I said, I told you guys I will make educated guess. It's just my opinion. I have no way to prove it, so I'm not going to speak about it as if it's fact or as if it's the gospel. But I thought it was very interesting that Mike Tomlin makes that determination and he makes that type of statement about a running back. Najee Harris wasn't that, right? And again, I'm not sitting here saying that Mike Tomlin wanted to move on from Najee Harris. I'm not saying that whatsoever. Maybe, maybe partly in terms of what he could get from Najee and what they would prefer from a running back. Let me explain what I'm saying. Finally, we started to see Jaylen Warren get more carries, right, over the last year or two. But finally, we got to the point where even some games this past season, Jaylen Warren had the bulk of the carries. Jaylen Warren very quickly became the third down running back, right? And it's because Jaylen Warren is going to give you more of that. Not only, not going to say he's the most shifty, but he, in space, often makes guys miss. Also, he's the no-nonsense type of runner, one-cut type of guy, right? And is quick enough to possibly get to the edge or beat a guy to the first down, if you will. In the direct parallel, Mike Tomlin talked about what Kenneth Gainwell did on third down, and just made me think, okay, it's not that I don't think they were down on Najee Harris. I think Najee Harris may have been, kind of done with Pittsburgh as well, kind of a mutual thing. Clearly, like I said last week, if you go back and listen to Najee Harris's interview with the Chargers, he did not down-talk Mike Tomlin. He still speaks highly of Mike Tomlin, even though I know people were trying to spin the narrative. But it kind of makes me think, okay, from an offensive standpoint, maybe, I'm going to do the quote fingers. We don't know. The draft hasn't happened yet. But maybe the Steelers are trying to do something different offensively at multiple positions, meaning starting with running back instead of having the big bruiser type of guy that you're going to run in the ground. You get some more shiftiness in your backfield, and it doesn't just have to be one guy. Maybe you get two or three guys that can kind of give you that. You know what I mean? So just a quick thought of mine, guys. Just a quick thought of mine. Um, that could have been telling. Again, Mike Tomlin doesn't always tell you much, but you kind of have to, peel the onion back a little bit in your own way, right? He's the onion. You have to kind of peel back what he says and see if you can make some connections. And that's kind of what I got from it. That, okay, particularly on third down, talked about his shiftiness, talked about how he split two defenders and got the first down. Okay, talked about in space. So maybe they're definitely going for having running backs that are more, dynamic types versus what we're accustomed to with the bell cow type of guy. Excuse me. But we'll see. We'll see. That's just my thought process, guys. What else do I have? In addition to that, he talked about Arthur Smith, having a hand in the offensive acquisitions. Okay, naturally, I would hope that would be the case, but, the fact that he said that, is maybe something else for us to pay attention to. So let's just assume, again, it's always dangerous to do that, but let's assume that Arthur Smith will also still have the same type of input or voice when it comes to offensive pieces, and will that also carry over into the draft? Pay attention to the type of guys that they draft. Pay attention to the type of guys that we've acquired. And it'll kind of show you maybe what the plan is. Like I said, clear as day. Unless George Pickens gets traded, clear as day, you see, based off of the Arthur Smith offense we saw last year, you see what the plan could possibly be if Arthur Smith largely comes in with the same plan, right? Running a lot of 12 personnel where you have only two guys on the outside. That is a dangerous two guys on that outside, right? I am not mad. Think about this. Think about this for just a second. In no way, shape, or form am I pissed off or upset with 12 personnel that consist of George Pickens, DK Metcalf, Pat Fryermuth, Darnell Washington. Let that sit in for a second. I'm going to give you guys a second to respond to that. And that's coming from me. That's coming from me, the guy that wants us to do more 11 personnel this prior season, right? Reason why I said that is because we needed as many wide receiver options as possible. But when you got two guys like that on the outside, yeah. And you could get defenses in more of a bigger packages to face these guys and leave some of these guys one-on-one. Let me say it to you again. I don't have much issue with the 12 personnel lineup that consists of GP and Fryermuth on one side, DK and Darnell Washington on the other. What say you, as they say? Just curious how y'all feel about that. Just curious on what y'all think about that, man. Just imagine that for a moment. Again, and this is a guy and me that complained so often last year about us not running enough 11. But again, guys, my opinions and critiques and feedback and criticism always comes from a case-to-case basis. Last year, obviously, I wanted to see us do more 11 because we needed more receiving options because we were very limited at receiver. So when you only have two on the field, it's harder to get that guy the ball, right? Your number one guy. Also, I was very critical at how we ran the football a lot out of 12 personnel. But more importantly, in play action scenarios, we didn't have a lot of eligibles or a lot of guys that can go get it and win. We really just had GP. Never really used Mike Williams the way we probably would want to later in the season, but you only had the one guy. So when it's 12 personnel, now it's just the tight ends and the one guy. But when you got two horses on the outside, that changes that quite a bit in terms of getting matched up with the opposing defense. So just let that sit in for a moment. But anyway, I'll move on to the next thing, guys. Let's see. Brother Man says, unless they put their foot down, Arthur Smith will continue to be a big part of the offense and nothing will change. How is he not a big part of the offense? Maybe I missed the conversation that you might be having with someone else, Brother Man, but I'm not sure what the point that you're referencing. I mean, I've always said I felt like Arthur Smith is a big part of the offense, and I'm going to talk about that too here in a moment. In just a second, there's one other thing I want to add to what I'm saying here. It's clear, again, if you go off of what I just said and you go off what Tomlin said about Gainwell and you add a DK Metcalf and presumably you keep GP, I wrote here, it's clear that they want to be a more explosive offense, right? Not just a productive offense. I think now the pieces are in play to where you want to be more explosive. Again, the reason why I would feel comfortable today, anything could change. Some people say, oh, GP might get traded. Maybe. Anything could change. But guys, if I'm talking today, let's do a timestamp. April 1st. April Fool's Day. But on here on April 1st, man, 2025, if you're telling me that an offense has George Pickens and DK Metcalf at their 1 and 2 receiver, you have emerging Calvin Austin, who's also a deep threat guy and a guy that you can run over the middle that we saw a couple times last year. Guy who actually, Calvin Austin, in my opinion, I'd have to go back and study it, but I feel like his route tree bumped up a bit. We used him in different scenarios, out routes and over routes and things like that, right? You have a guy that you still are fully capable of, feel like he's fully capable in a Roman Wilson. There's going to be another receiver. The 2 tight ends. Just talking about Darnell and Fryermuth. The type of running back that you inquired, along with Jaylen Warren, and allowing Najee Harris to go to free agency, sounds like explosion. It doesn't just sound like a team that's just going to try to run the football. And that is key. How they are currently constructed today, before draft, before any possible trades, it does seem like they are about more explosion. So we shall see. But then also, man, I wanted to add here, they're looking to get a lot from Roman Wilson and Fautanu. So that could be an obvious statement, but, you know, Mike Tomlin said, hey, I'm going to look at it and treat it kind of like these guys, their second year. I expect a year 2 jump, even though these guys will kind of be playing in their real first action, you know, because of the mentality and what they did with the mental reps and being around the process. He feel that they'll mentally still be able to be in their second year, even though they haven't played for 2 seasons. Excuse me. He kind of compared the trajectory to Calvin Austin, saying, you know, sometimes guys get injured. They get injured in their rookie season and they go on to have decent careers. More so than Calvin Austin, he also mentioned David DeCastro. He said, look at a guy like DeCastro. You know, injury-plagued rookie season, but look at his career and what he went on to be. So he's right, you know, and you would hope you have that type of success with a Roman Wilson and a Fautanu. In the little capacity that we got to see Fautanu, a lot of us were pleased in what we saw at right tackle. And as far as Roman Wilson, I mean, let's not forget the baller that this kid was in college. You know, I'm not going to allow a season injury to make me feel any differently than I felt when he was a rookie last season. Right? I still feel like the kid is a baller and is going to do some things for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin said he was healthy last year, you know, last couple of weeks, but never really got to a point where it demanded him to be on the field. So he's going to come into this thing healthy. So, you know, it's some things to look forward to in terms of offensively. Not going to kid myself here. We do all have to wonder how are things going to work out with Broderick Jones on the left side. But I've been asking for this for a long time, guys. Y'all know I've been consistent with this. I am at the point now with the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially with us having these playoff droughts and all of that. I am all for the retooling and rebuilding the same way other teams do it with youth. And I know some people are going to say, oh, I don't trust this. Listen, it is not going to hurt my feelings that you have a third-year guy as your left tackle, a second-year guy as your right tackle, your second-year center, a second-year guard. It's not going to hurt my feelings. We have to start being in that business of getting back to the draft and developing. You add a couple of free agents here and there to help, bring the team together. We got to take that stand and we got to go do it. So there you have it. There was something else I was going to say, guys. I said I was going to get back to it, and it had something to do with Arthur Smith, I thought. Trying to remember my own thoughts here. I said I would get back to it. I said I'll talk about the off. Oh, I know what it was. Brother Man said something to the effect of, Arthur Smith will have a big focus on the offense, and I wouldn't see it any other way, right? And I wanted to talk about, this is something that I saw a couple weeks ago, and I might have mentioned it on last week's show, but how much blame that people are trying to give to Mike Tomlin in terms of offense and the offense being bad. And I want to say this. We all acknowledge that Mike Tomlin has a philosophy, ball control, run the football, stop the run. Sure. But there's a couple things that I wanted to remind you guys. Number one, I absolutely think that the offensive coordinators run the show in terms of the offense. I'm sure Mike Tomlin gives his input at times. Game plan wise, he might say, let's keep it conservative on this drive, perhaps. There's also times that we have seen that we've been very aggressive. You guys remember that third down or fourth down, whatever it was when we played? I want to say we were playing against Seattle, and we elected to throw the football, and George Pickens sealed the game. Y'all remember that? It was a couple years ago. There's always these moments like that where the Steelers are aggressive, but Tomlin never gets the credit for that. Like, we only get on Tomlin when something doesn't go right. Again, it can't be both ways. I happen to think that the offensive coordinator runs his own shop. Tomlin gives his input. He might say when to do this. Hey, let's go for it here. Hey, let's keep the ball on the ground in this scenario. We've heard it with the sideline talk. But he is not the one calling offensive plays throughout the game. That's the offensive coordinator's job. So I don't understand. I never understand that part. It's Arthur Smith's offense. It was Matt Canada's offense. Like I said, I'm sure there are times when Tomlin will make a call to say, hey, let's do this in this scenario. Sure, the head man is supposed to do that. But since when have we or have anybody talked about Mike Tomlin in an offensive capacity in his career? He's not Andy Reid. He's not Sean McVay. He's not, what's my man name? Kyle Shanahan. He's not an offensive wizard. So I don't, it cracks me up how we seem to think that he is calling the plays. Yeah, some of y'all be saying that. Furthermore, another thing I wanted to say really quick is always cracks me up when, again, the narrative is that Mike Tomlin doesn't want to score points and, he does not want to, have a dominant offense, right? That's what they say. Can I remind you guys that Do y'all do remember the Killer B era, right? Y'all remember that? When the Steelers offense, and I want to say 2 or 3 years in a row, they was like the #1 offense in the league, and they ain't do nothing but score points. And Todd Haley was the coordinator. And most of us would say, yeah, man, you know, when Haley was there, we scored a lot of points. We protected Ben, yada, yada, yada. Ben got the ball out of his hands. Who did that? Was that the offensive coordinator? Or was that Mike Tomlin? So it makes 2 points. Clearly, it was the offensive coordinator that had that effect. And clearly, I feel like it debunks any notion that Tomlin doesn't want to put points on the board and have a dominant offense. Because during those years, we had a beyond dominant offense. It was the defense that was trash, which, oddly enough, is his wheelhouse. So if you want to criticize anything, it should be like those years where the defense wasn't so great. And Keith Butler days and all of that. If you want to put blame on the head man's head, then defensively is more what he's known for, right? So, I don't know. It's crazy to me, man. It's crazy to me. But again, like I said, everybody has their own narrative. I stay away from narratives. I just go with what appears to be factual. And we've seen that same head coach have an offense that was beyond dynamic. And then Todd Haley was the guy orchestrating that. So it showed you right there. And again, if it's Tomlin so much, why are we always asking for new coordinators? Why do we continue to ask, oh man, fire this guy, bring this guy in? Why do we continue to do that if we think it's just him anyway that's calling the offense? But like I said, man, the moves that they are making right now outside of quarterback would lead me to believe differently, that they're trying to be and they will want to be a little more explosive in 2025. We shall see. We shall see. Let me see what else we got before I get to the main topic. I think that's it. Speaking of running backs, and Kenyon, I know you're listening. I meant to text you this the other day. Can I be honest real quick? And I want to see if you guys agree. I watched 3 Ohio State games. I might start a 4th. But I watched 3 full games, did my due diligence on Will Howard. After those 3 games, and I'm only the 3 games, I think I like Henderson more than I like Judkins. And I like Judkins. Judkins is a nice running back as well. But out of the 2, I might lean more towards Henderson, bro. Henderson got a little more of that, he got a little more of what I like to see. Y'all know what I like to see from running backs. And he got breakaway speed. Well, both of them can run. But Henderson, Henderson, nice, man. He got a little extra something with him, like a mentality that I can see on him. And it's not to say that Judkins doesn't, but again, I'm just saying, out of them games that I watched, I like Henderson. I like Henderson a wee bit more than Judkins if I had to choose. But I'd take either one of them. But if somebody made me choose, yeah. And see, that's a fair point, Kenyon. I only watched the 3 games, and that's my opinion on those games. So that's why I say to everybody, and Kenyon knows this, but to say to everybody else watching, that's just a 3-game assessment. It's not to say what these kids have been in their whole college career. Judkins could be the better back. I don't know. Excuse me. I'm just saying from what I saw and observing them, I was like, I'm feeling this kid a little more. Maybe if I watch more games or, watch their whole season, I might come away with a different opinion. But they both nice though, absolutely. Last question of the night. Do y'all think the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers are purposely not signing right now? I saw that narrative floating around. And I thought I'd bring that to us tonight, man, and we can sit here and chop it up for a second. And I wanted to know if any of you guys could see a benefit of doing it. I mean, of course, the narrative is it allows them not to play their hand and they go into the advantage, go into the draft with the advantage. And I'm like, I don't know about that. Donation. I don't see where it's such a I just don't see. Oh, hold on. Hold on. Dog, hold on. Stop the presses. You talking about interrupting yourself. Bruh. Round of applause 1,000 times to Rod. Wow. That ain't Wonder Bread. That is that is the entire Wonder Bread factory. Man, round of applause, Rod, man. My brother, hats off to you. Big time salute. You guys have no idea, man, whether it's $1 or $100, it always means the same, especially when it's more, because you guys don't have to do that. So it's humbling that I could entertain you or be a part of your lives so much to where you feel like, hey man, here's a donation to the cause. Rod, you went crazy. He said, match this, ushers. Ushers closed the door. Man, Rod, salute, brother. Appreciate you, man. That's all I can say. It ain't much more I can say than that. I mean, YouTube put that thing in red to let you know how much that's supposed to be. So thank you, my brother. Wow. What else we got, guys? Let's get back to the question. Do you guys think they're doing it on purpose? And if so, for what? Why? So Kev So Fun says yes. Okay. What is the benefit of doing that? Like, seriously. What does it do for us to purposely not sign him right now? Knight Rider says, no, I don't think so personally. Kenya says, I think the Steelers want a home run hit. Okay, he's talking about running back. But can any of you guys like legit say where it makes sense to do that? Oh, Kenyon, if I'm not mistaken, I think I saw Alex Kazor post that. Look at Zori. I don't understand it though. I don't understand what the benefit of that would be. And again, I'm not so sure. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find it, man. Y'all bear with me for a second. I think Alex Kazor said it, man. And if he did, it's got to be on Steelers Depot. And I want to read y'all some of the, because I've seen people commenting about it ever since I saw it. Let's see. I want to say I saw him post that on Twitter. or X. Let me see if I can find it. I'm not going to hold y'all up, though, but let's see if I can find it. Let me see. I don't see it on Steelers Depot, but he definitely tweeted it. And I remember saying to myself, I don't understand the purpose. But he was saying something to the effect of it gives them their leverage so they can kind of hide their hands as far as what their plans are. But I'm like, what difference does it make? Nobody's trying to sign him. You understand? So it's not like anything that the Steelers have planned. The news of Aaron Rodgers, unless there's something going on in the draft of one of the D linemen or another key prospect that, maybe teams won't necessarily know what they're trying to do because maybe they think the Steelers come into the draft looking for a quarterback. I don't know. Oh, Kenyon, he posted that he thinks that Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers, they may be waiting to sign purposely. Mark Cunningham says, I don't think the Steelers are doing it on purpose. They would sign him yesterday if they could. That's kind of what I think too, man. That's kind of what I think as well. Yeah, I just don't understand it, man. Like I said, it wasn't no overarching topic. I made that, the title of the video, but I was just curious to know if you guys could come up with a reason of why you think that would be the case. Like, let's play into that narrative. What would be the reason to do that? Where's the benefit? I don't see it. Like I said, I feel like, man, in order for that all to be true, then Tomlin would have talked to the team. Maybe Aaron Rodgers has talked to the team. Let's not forget, if you guys saw it, there's video footage that came out today that Aaron Rodgers and, throwing footballs to DK Metcalf. And so I feel like at this point, either the entire team knows he's going to sign or they're literally just waiting on him. But I, for one, am tired of hearing about it, man. At this point, if it's going to happen, just let it happen, man. So I can put that in my mind. It's more than likely what's going to happen. But I'm telling y'all, man, I've been watching just to do my due diligence. Don't be surprised, man, if in the third round, Jalen Milroe's still sitting there. Hey, Will Howard, after I watched Will Howard, and I told Kenyon this, my assessment of Will Howard is, again, 3 games just like everybody else. Relatively accurate. Doesn't necessarily have a problem, placing the ball where he wants it to go. I saw some really good ball placement moments. Did see some times where the ball was a bit behind, but again, it happens with every quarterback, but relatively smart in the plays that I saw. Will move. Wasn't aware that he could move like that. He will move quite often and will run it. You could do design runs with him. Has a little bit of moxie with him as well. I like that. I forget which game it was that they played, but the coach said something about Google me. I think it might have been Oklahoma. And I like how he responded with Google that. Like, I like little stuff like that. It shows me what you have here. You know what I'm saying? Not a bad quarterback. If he's sitting around in the third round, don't be surprised. Again, keep an eye on it. The Steelers have talked to like 6 quarterbacks. Like actual meetings. Pro days or pro day dinners and, pre-draft visits. I have a feeling, guys, that they're going to draft one of these dudes. I don't think they're going to jump out the window and go first round. I'm not really getting that vibe, but I will say this, like I said last week, I won't rule it out because they jumped out of the window with Kenny Pickett. Especially if Aaron Rodgers isn't coming to Pittsburgh. It's not going to surprise me if they get desperate and they jump out there and draft one of these guys. And the question is really going to come down to who do they trust or who do they believe in the most and who do they think they can get the most out of. I think in the third round, it's wide open. It's wide open. If Shook is there, Howard, Milroe, it's wide open. You could make a case for any one of those guys. I would say, and again, y'all might disagree, I would say in the third, and all three of them are there, I would take a chance with Milroe just because of what could be. You know what I mean? I'll say this. I'm not down on Tyler Shook or Will Howard as far as saying, no. In the third round, I'm not upset if you drafted any of those guys because, again, I'm going to make the same point. It does not prevent them from drafting next year, right? It just doesn't. They got all these compensatory picks that they compiled. Nothing prevents them from shooting your shot next year as well. You're going to need another quarterback anyway, especially if there's no Aaron Rodgers. It does not hurt you to draft one of those dudes in the third round. Now, it would shock me if they jump out the window, grab the Milroe in the first round, or they do something that unconventional since they were not at Ole Miss's Pro Day. They mess around and they pull the trigger and take a guy like Jackson Dart in the first round. I've even seen people now, I said this last week, but it's picking up steam, that the Steelers could potentially trade to get Shedeur Sanders. And I'm like, other than that, like I said, if we get down to the third round and you have your selection of Milroe, Shook, I can't say that kid's name for nothing, or Howard, or if one of them are there, I wouldn't be upset with that. I definitely would rather see them go a real need. First round, go ahead and get the D lineman. You have to get you another Keanu Benton type. What I mean by type is Keanu Benton, for most of us, would still say that kid got something. It's just, will it come together enough? You're going to need another one of those because Cam Hayward, again, is on his last couple years. So would not be mad at them doing that in the first round. We got to help try to solidify this run defense. And that's kind of where I'm at with it, man. I mean, honestly, guys, offensively, outside of, it's the biggest vacancy that we have, but outside of QB, it's nothing that I feel like we have to rush and go get in the first round. Honestly, I don't think we need to draft another running back in the first round. We did that with Najee. History has shown you don't have to do that, especially when the draft class is beyond deep. You will be able to find a running back in the third round. We don't need a receiver in the first round, in my opinion. Eventually, you're going to need to replace George Pickens unless you plan on doing a Cincinnati Bengals and you're going to have two guys, right? But you do not need to draft a first round wide receiver. Our tackles are assumingly solidified, quote fingers, because you never know. You do not need to go right or left tackle in the first round. Yeah, I don't think you need to go guard in the first round. We got our center. So I say go defensively. Get you a stud corner. or get the stud defensive lineman, and I would say defensive lineman first. Round of applause to James Webb, man. I appreciate the Wonder Bread, my brother. He said, "What's up, Sim? I continue to stand by getting our offensive line together with Dan Moore gone. Hopefully, you said we'll pour into the line. Yeah, I don't see them never upset about that, man. I mean, you can never have too many offensive linemen, but I don't see them doing anything like that in the first. I don't see them doing anything in the first. Not in terms of, offensive linemen. Walter Worthy says D-line is a must. Maybe not required for the first, but a must that needs to be addressed. It is, man. It absolutely is, brother. Antoine says you want them to draft Kenneth Grant. Joe Manick says Milrose coach with Browns now. Yeah, if the Browns take Jalen Milroe that early, they'll continue to just be the Browns, man. Steeler Card says it's going to be defensive tackle round one, everyone. Don't overthink it. They are building the trenches. Yeah. And that would be smart, Steeler Cards, honestly. Listen, if you listen to what Mike Tomlin has said, so far in the offseason, Omar Khan, more importantly, they've talked about the trenches. Remember how they were talking about, Omar Khan was talking about, looking at what Philly did and what they did, how they approached it and what it turned out to be. Philly invested in the trenches. Steelers have sent, the last couple years, they've made some investments in offensive line. Now it's time to make the same investment on the other side of the trench. So the Steeler Cards could be right on the money, man. We don't have to overthink it. So I'm with you guys 100%. Kenya says, I don't know if I would draft Grant over Nolan if I had to choose. Yeah, man, Nolan is nice. Excuse me. But the reason why I said unconventional on the Ole Miss thing is because we know why. Tomlin and Omar Khan were not at that pro day. And if you want to follow the trend of who normally the first round pick is, the GM and head coach have been in attendance, or at least one of them. And that's been like 10, maybe plus years strong that's happened. So, but you never know. You never know. Anything is possible. But that's all I got, man. Y'all got any other last little words here? That's all I got, man. Knight Rider says, I'm not worried about the position we choose as long as we get it right. Yeah. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to, right? Steeler Card says his preference is in order. Number 1 is Nolan, number 2 is Grant, and number 3 is Harmon. Okay. I'd be happy with either. Kenya says, Sim, I would take the kid. I sent the video to you. Just flipped the USC today, Sim. Yeah. Man. You ain't lying. Let's draft him now. Can you do? Making myself cough, laughing so crazy. Yo, can you, like how they do in high school? They be like, we're gonna give this kid a scholarship now, and he be in like 8th grade. Can you say we're going to draft this guy in 4 years? Put him on the books. That dude is a monster. This kid, man, out there at Cali, he is a monster tackle. Gotta be ranked number 1 in high school. He has to. And the boy is only a junior. He's going into his senior year. I mean, it's a real problem, man. I can't wait to follow him just to see what he turns out to be, because it looks like, you just do the projections. He gonna be one of them, bro. And his hand usage, man, Lord have mercy. Like you don't usually see that at high school, bro. But anyway, man, what else y'all got? Give me a couple more, man, before I go. Appreciate that, brother, man. Appreciate that, man. I wish I had more content to share with y'all, man. But you know, this is a slow period. I wish there was more that we could get into. Very slow period, man. You know, we'll have much more to talk about, of course, you know, at draft time. You know, me and Kenya will definitely, we'll try to, let's see, today is the 1st. Yeah, Kenya, let's try to get another steel table in, man, before the draft. And then, of course, you guys know we do our draft show as well. And, yeah. As far as the quarterback thing, man, listen, just let it play out. It doesn't seem like anybody is in any rush. You know, if Rodgers does not sign, then keep your eyes very close. Very close. Very close on that draft. That's all I'm going to say. And like I said, I've watched Howard, Milroe, Shuck. I watched Jackson Dart, and I'm missing another one. I might as well come out of retirement. Who else did I watch, man? I think I watched more than 4 QBs, didn't I? Dart, Shuck, Milroe, Howard. That might be it. Maybe it was only them 4. Oh, Shador. Yeah. That's right. I mean, I've watched almost every one of Colorado games during the season, but that's the one. Kenyon, I gotta go like intently watch a couple of his games. And yeah, I will watch Ewers. I'm gonna have to watch Ewers as well, because I think the Steelers may have done a draft visit with him also, I think. Ain't no need of watching Cam Ward. I mean, no point. And yeah, I've actually saw some of his games during the season as well, but I'm only going to watch people who could possibly end up with the Steelers, and it's less likely that even Shador would. Rajon, you putting me on the spot, but you said, who do I like out of the guys that I watched in order? For the Steelers, let me preface it by saying for the Steelers. Here's my order. Might shock some of y'all. For the Steelers only, looking at how I think they would be as a Steeler fit scheme and or bring grit and excitement. So it's a lot of criteria that I'm looking at. So this is not a pure talent list, but let me give it to you. Number 1. Dart. I like Jackson Dart a lot more than I think some people like him. Again, listen, let me qualify this statement again. I'm only talking about eligibles of this draft class if the Steelers had to end up with one of them. I'm not comparing them to next year or year before, year after. I'm just specifically talking about these guys. Next would be Howard. Only reason why I say Howard, I think Howard would be steady. And initially, Kenyon and I talked a little bit, and we was like, well, you know, Mason Rudolph is steady. But I think Howard gives you a little more than what Rudolph would give you, incorporating him in the run game. But he's steady. He's not great. He's not horrible. Nothing jumped off of the screen, but I just was like, okay, if I had to take a serviceable guy he might be able to get the job done, perhaps. Third would be Jalen Milroe. And the reason why I say third and putting him over Shuck is because if I'm all the way down to the third option, I'm going to go with pure upside over everything else. If I get past Dart, and I say Dart because I think Dart does enough of what I like to see. He's not great, but he can throw the ball. He can throw the ball deep. He can also run with the ball, and I love his toughness. That won me over more than anything else. That kid is tough. That's blue collar. That's Pittsburgh Steelers. That's Roethlisberger type of tough. Not comparing them. I'm just saying it puts me in that mindset of tough, gritty. And I think he throws the ball relatively well. Some little shaky decisions in a couple of them games, but again, all of them are going to make mistakes. Then, again, the reason why I would go with Howard is, like I said, Howard is steady. Howard is steady. So if I felt like, okay, who could I plug in and he might be able to manage the game relatively decent? Maybe Howard. But then Milroe, man, I just think about what he could be. But the only reason why he's further down on the list is because I acknowledge that he is a project. Very much so. And then Shuck, I like Shuck. Arm talent is good. But Shuck to me is similar, not similar player style. Not players, but similar style in this regard. Him and Shedeur kind of put me in the same mindset of how they would fit on the Steelers. Those guys are more pocket guys, right? More pocket types. Yeah, Shuck can move a little bit in the pocket, and I'm sure Shedeur could too, but they're not, from what I see, they're not the mobilest guy. Like, what I mean by that is I don't want a guy that just can navigate the pocket. I think in the AFC North, specifically with the quarterbacks we face, we're going to need a quarterback that can be somewhat of a threat with the run. Even Joe Burrow will take off and go, and when he go, he gone. Not home run hitter, but Joe Burrow is a lot more, quick and can pick up a quick 15, 20 yards just like that. Don't let him fool you. We need to have at least that. And Shedeur and Shuck to me are more pocket guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think Shedeur is going to be a solid quarterback. I just don't know how Shedeur fits in our system as it's currently constructed with Arthur Smith. And I could say the same thing probably about Shuck. And that's one thing where I said I might put Howard higher than them, because I saw Howard in the games that I watched. He did all of the stuff that the Steelers did last year. Played under center. Played from shotgun. Ran play action. Ran a lot of QB design runs. So I'm like, okay, we've seen that style of play. So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. If I had to rank those guys in that order. And like I said, guys, only from a Steelers standpoint, I'm not ranking those guys talent for talent. Because I think, man, a dude like Milroe, you talk about potential or what could be, might have the highest. It's going to take a while. You're going to have to cultivate that. You're going to have to be willing to, the long haul, kind of like Lamar. You're going to have to give it a few years. You know what I'm saying? And if you're willing to invest in that, cool. But I think, like I said, the grittiness and the gutsiness of a Jackson Dart, you might be able to get more out of him sooner just because of his style of play. And like I said, the more well-rounded maybe out of that four might be Howard. But again, when you watch Howard, and I kept texting Kenyon as I'm watching film, I'm like, there's no wow moments, right? He's just solid, and that's okay. That's okay. He don't have to be a world beater. It's just I didn't find myself having a lot of wow moments. And that's just how I rank them. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. And I had more of those with Jackson Dart because of, again, his grittiness and toughness and taking off and putting his face in the fan. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then, of course, I probably had more wow moments. Largely, I watched 4 games with Alabama, just that home run ability. Like, my God. Yeah, double back. Yeah, his accuracy is beyond frustrating. But yeah, man, that's all I got. That's all I got, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah, Russell Wilson was a 3rd round pick. Kenyon, you're absolutely correct. Dak Prescott, what was Dak? Third or 4th? And people can say what they want, man. Dak Prescott is a good quarterback, man. I just think it's something about them Cowboys. The same thing happened to Tony Romo. A lot of people always try to say Tony Romo was trash. Tony Romo, in my opinion, wasn't trash. It just seemed like it just didn't pan out for him in the bigger games. I think Dak is a very talented quarterback. It's just, I don't know, man. He just had these games. I don't know if, I don't, but Dak is a good quarterback, man. Yeah, I feel you, Malvo. We need a world beater, guys, but I'm just saying, man, y'all got to be patient with that. It don't happen just like that. That's all I'm saying. And unfortunately, the Steelers are in a situation where it's going to be harder for them to find the world beater because we always hovering with about 10 wins or so. And that's all I'm saying, guys. Like, we have to be realistic as Steelers fans. Because of the way we finish, it's much harder for us to get the world beater. And that's why everybody is so fixated with, next year they're going to put these draft picks together, they're going to move up. They might, but that's what it's going to take. So I'm just talking from reality. If they're in a situation where they decide they're going to draft a quarterback this year, we have to look at the eligibles and decide if they draft them, who's the best one to draft. It's the same thing we did in the Kenny Pickett draft. It's the same thing. And some people said, I don't like none of these guys. That's cool. But guess what? The Steelers drafted one of them. You see? This is all I'm saying as a fan. I try to cover all spectrums so I'm not surprised. I seriously feel like they're going to draft one of these quarterbacks. One of these 6 quarterbacks. I have not watched Riley, what's his name? What's the boy? Riley Leonard. I ain't watched much of him. But it is beyond possible that the Steelers find themselves with a Jackson Dart, less likely a Shador, a Jalen Milroe, a Tyler Shook, a Ryan Howard, Quinn Ewers, Riley Leonard. Like, I'm just saying, it's possible. So you just have to be prepared for what could possibly happen, regardless of whether you want them to draft these people or not. You didn't want Kenny Pickett, and the Steelers drafted him. So I'm just trying to be ahead of the curve, man. That's all. Absolutely, Walter. People always seem to think there's always a can't miss, and that is rarely the case. Yeah, even some of the top projected quarterbacks, we've all seen it since we've watched football. They don't pan out sometimes. Nothing is a guarantee. And that is the only reason, guys, why you hear me. This is just me, Sim Football Critic's opinion. That's why y'all never hear me say, man, just wait till next year. Y'all notice that? Y'all never hear me say that. Fully understand the sentiment and the conventional wisdom in it, but it does not mean, A, you're going to draft the person that you're waiting for, B, that person is going to turn out to be anything. None of it is a guarantee. It's just probability. The guy that's projected number 1 is more of a probability that he will be successful than the guy drafted number 1,000. That's all. But there is nothing that says that number 1 will be better than 1,000 100% of the time. Brock Purdy ended up having a better career than all of them cats in that draft. Every single one of them. Matter of fact, I don't think anybody else is starting from that class. And I will end it with that. Man, thank y'all. I didn't know we was going to make it to an hour tonight. I really didn't. But I appreciate y'all. We're going to go ahead and get out of here, man. Y'all knew the routine. Y'all know the routine, man. If you're new to the channel, and even if you're not, the least you can do is hit that like button. Please. If you like the video, like the video. Subscribe to the channel as well if you aren't. And turn on your notifications so you know when videos are up and running. Outside of that, I'm always going to remind y'all, as y'all hear me dealing with a little bit of allergies, hey, man, stay healthy out there. Stay safe out there. God bless. Good night. Like always, I thank each and every one of you for tuning in. And I shall catch you guys in the next one. Peace. And Rod, you still a bad boy. Appreciate you, brother. Peace.